Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew, and I want to welcome you to this video where we'll explore how to build a meditation practice. And also we'll end with a practice that explores an awareness practice, being with the breath and then also counting the breath. How we build the practice is really a challenge, I think, for each of us. I remember for myself, I was really interested in yoga when I was 13 or 14. And I remember that was when I was first introduced to meditation. And then later, reading Siddhartha, a book by Hermann Hesse, I learned about this story of a man who went on a journey to find spiritual awareness, and I was really inspired. And later, I traveled down to Naropa Institute, where I was introduced to formal meditation practice at a Buddhist university in Colorado. And through these experiences, I began to build my own practice. And I remember in the beginning, it was very hard for me to sit still. It was very hard. I got really fidgety. My mind was really racy. It took a while to build and establish a regular sitting practice. So one of the things that's important when you think about building your practice is to start really small. To start in practicing in a way that's doable, that's accomplishable, that you don't begin to feel the sense of resistance to your practice. It's kind of like when you go to the gym. You kind of don't want to go to the gym. You know it's going to benefit you. And we need to build against the resistance to build new patterns. Today is very different for me. When I was growing up, there was no resources, online resources like there is today. So when you're building your practice, I think the online forum really gives you so many opportunities to be exposed to different apps, different teachers, different guided practices. So as you're building the practice, I think looking at Calm and Headspace, these are really great practices. However, the guided practices are often accompanied with music. So eventually it's good to expand that. So sites like Buddhify, Insight Timer, they also have instructions and practices that will guide you towards different kinds of practices that you can begin to learn the skills of different styles of practice. In the beginning, it's important to hear the instructions until eventually the instructions kind of are in your own head, so that eventually you can get to the point where you could practice maybe 5 minutes with no guided, just you guiding yourself with your own voice in your own head. And then maybe you expand it to 10 and then 15 and then work your way up to 30 minutes. So it's important when you think about building a practice that you start small and then increase the length of sitting. The body isn't used to sitting, and neither is the mind. So we want to give it time and training, just like when you're stretching, you take time to stretch. The other important thing when you're establishing, each time you set out to practice, it's important to have an intention. Why are you listening to this video right now? You know, what is it that you're looking for? You know, maybe you've had some experience with mindfulness, maybe someone's told you about it. Really look at what it is that you hope to gain from the practice. I think for many of us, we're really stressed a lot. We're dealing with a lot of complex anxiety, depression, lots of different challenging experiences. Really, as we look at what's happening in the world around us right now, it's not a very peaceful world. We feel distressed a lot of the time. So I think a lot of us are looking for calm, are looking for a space of inward ease. A lot of us are looking for well-being or assistance with dealing with mental health issues. So I think that's one intention that we could have. Buddha actually had an intention to become enlightened. His intention was he wanted to find a way to free himself from his own suffering so that he could teach others how to do the same thing. So that might be your intention. I want to be awakened. I want to learn how to free myself from my suffering for the benefit of others. But whatever your intention is, each time you sit to practice, come back to that. The next important step in building a practice is you have to decide where, and you have to decide when, and then you have to decide how you're going to practice. And these are important depending on your life. If you're living in a small apartment, finding and carving out a quiet space when you live with roommates that might be challenging. So it's important to find your place. Sometimes, one friend told me, they practiced sitting in their car. It was the only quiet place they could find. So that's where they did their practice. I know other people like meditating under trees in nature. That's where Buddha loved to meditate. But normally we find a place in our home. Sometimes our bedroom is the quietest place. But the first thing is to find a place. Maybe there you'll light a candle when you practice, create a small altar. You might put an image that reminds you of something peaceful there. You put an image of the Buddha there. You begin to create a place that reminds you that this is my practice place. And then next you need to decide, well, how long? I'm going to listen to an app today. It's a 10-minute practice. Or I'm going to try doing 5 minutes of practice on my own. Or I've been practicing for a while now and I'm ready to go to 15 minutes, or I'm ready to go to 20 minutes. So you're building your sense of timing, and Insight Timer actually has some pre-recorded meditations. So it will say a 10-minute or a 30-minute, and they bell you in and they bell you at the end of the practice. So it just gives you something that you don't have to look at your watch and say, okay, is 15 minutes up yet? You have a timer that allows you to practice. And then finally, you need to reflect on, well, what kind of practice am I going to do today? Am I going to do a practice where I'm going to count my breaths today? Am I going to do a practice where I'm going to really label the thoughts today and really practice with strong intention to notice every single thought and be able to label where every thought is? So there are many styles of practice that we'll explore in later video sessions. Today I'd like to explore building the foundation of the practice through the 7 points of sitting practice, and then also doing a practice where we'll follow the breath and then count the breath. So I'd like to invite you to come into your posture and find a way to sit comfortably for the duration of this meditation. When you're building a practice, remember that the body is where the practice happens. It's called sitting. The word zazen for Zen meditation means just sitting. And in Tibet, the word for meditation, gom, means making friends with your mind, making friends with your thoughts, becoming familiar with what's happening in each moment. So to sit, we need, first of all, to establish a comfortable posture. So we need to recognize our body's needs, whether we sit in a chair, whether we're sitting on a cushion. I want you to start with feeling the foundation. If you're sitting cross-legged, feel the knees touching. Feel the cushion beneath your sitting bones. Feel the surface on the ground beneath you. So the first point of the practice is to center and feel the ground. Relax and settle into the ground. And from that, the body rises up. Sometimes we call it tree, mountain, the sense of uprightness, the strength of our spine. So we become aware of the spine lengthened all the way up and out through the crown of the head. An invisible line extending, or a tree with branches reaching up into the sky. The sense of the strong back is, we can feel the stability of the spine that holds us through the practice. Next, we are aware of our hands. You can place your hands right on the lap. You could close the index and thumb together, or you could place the left hand and let it rest in the right and let the thumb softly touch here. This is a very skillful way to practice if you choose to, because if the mind gets too busy, the thumbs will start pressing together and will get tight. And if the mind gets too relaxed and sleepy, the thumbs will drop down and you'll lose that soft touch. Remember, we're developing ways to focus and keep our awareness in the present moment. The next is just slightly lift the sternum so that your shoulders can relax down. So there's a sense of gentle lifting of the sternum so the shoulders, and that relaxation travels right down into your fingers. Next, I want you to place your tongue softly on the roof of your mouth. Let the lips relax. Relax the jaw. And as the jaw softens, let the back of the neck relax. Here we're making sure that the head doesn't tilt back or drop forward, but that the whole spine remains aligned as we're sitting. And finally, with each stage of the posture, we are placing our attention. Awareness is placed in the body. So finally we place the eyes. The eyes can be softly open, gazing down 45 degrees towards the ground, or the eyes can be closed, gazing down in the same way. And there's a third way you can practice if the mind is very sleepy and it's very difficult for you to stay present. You can practice with the eyes fully open, gazing with peripheral vision out into the space around you. So just bring your attention to these 7 points now as your body settles into the practice. And then we turn our attention inward. Once we've settled the posture, once we've placed the body, then we bring our attention to the breath. For this practice, I want you to bring your attention to your belly. Softly to the diaphragm, simply to feel the breath moving in the lower body, diaphragm, sides of the ribs, just feeling that breath moving in and out. See if you can sense the movement of the breath here. And you can sense it even as your clothing is moving, as the muscles are expanding and contracting, as air is flowing in and out of your body. You can observe this. We can do this. We can watch the breath. As you watch the breath, the mind naturally will travel. Your practice is to guide it back. We notice sometimes we take a deeper breath, or we notice it's a shallow breath. No judgment. Do your best to rest your attention on the breath for a few more moments here. Now, to deepen that concentration, I'd like you to begin to count inwardly, so that as you breathe in, you can mentally count 1. And then as you exhale, mentally count 2. Inhaling, counting 3. Exhaling, counting 4. And just continuing to count the breath until you reach 10, and then begin to count back to 1 again. If you lose count, don't worry. Just come back to where you remember last counting. And then letting the counting go, just come back to the breath again. See if you can stay in the stillness of the in and exhalation and relax here. And for a few moments, just notice what it's like. Notice your experience in this moment. How was it following the breath for you? How was it counting? What thoughts were you aware of? What sounds? What happened while you were practicing? I hope these instructions really support you as you begin to build your practice and find the gifts that come from mindful awareness. I look forward to joining you again. Bye for now.